CCTV camera got me out, but I don't prefer to apply taking transfer back rotation. And that's I0 running one.
Yeah.
You've got a relay board to drive the CCTV rotator. Capacitor for mechanical suppression, otherwise you crash the part. That's my phone, that's PNC. The camera's just even how you're this is set into the camera, and I'll give it a test now. Satellite one, look at it, just goes and does it.
Good evening everyone, it's 8 o'clock, so we've got lots of interesting things to get through, so you can all sit down, please. Thank you.
Broken it already? Yes.
Right, good evening everyone, and thank you all for coming. So this is a new type of meeting that John has arranged, and it certainly looks fascinating at the moment, so we look forward to seeing all these things. So the format, I'm sure John will explain in a minute, but we've got a lot of different things to get through, so what we're going to have is people sort of talking quickly about each thing, and then of course later on with the tea and coffee we can all go around and have a chat individually, but I'm sure John will tell you a bit more about that in a minute. So let's get things started then. First of all, from the committee, any notices, please?
On Sunday we'll be running the club table. I've got stacks and stacks of stuff from heaps all over the house, which on Saturday I've been to Reading Rugby Club and they're going to give us a room to put it all in. But if that's what you need, which we can on Saturday and Sunday, because I've got to bring my own stuff. So I'm going to have some help on Saturday or early on Sunday, taking out a room and put it on the club table.
Is the room upstairs or downstairs?
Well, I hope it's downstairs. She doesn't say it.
So I'm going to want an artistic parabolic dish to bring for club sales.
On Saturday you can all go with the with all the stuff. But she said, yeah, I'll find you a room. There are a load. The cart is way down like that. And stuff. Lots of goodies in there, by the way.
Any more notices from the committee at all?
If you're going to take a camera with you, take some photos, send them to me, send your stories to me, and we managed to get something into RADARC this month, didn't we?
We did,
so,
yes.
I don't know if you've seen it, my RADARC just dropped to the door today. I sent it on the off chance that they might print it, and they did. So the more of that we can do, just raises the profile of the club.
Yeah, we're hoping to get some pictures in there, so if you can take some really
I've
good
also
pictures, that would
emailed
be great.
South today to put it in on when they do the weather. To sort of say, by the way, I don't know what come up. Or watch South today tomorrow. We'll do that.
Okay, do you want to do the bit about the next meeting, or shall I do that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, look it up. So the obvious thing is, of course, I'm sure you don't need reminding the Sunday of the McMichael rally. Then on the 21st of July, we have an antennas evening, which is going to be now at the rugby club. So that's at 8 o'clock at the rugby club. But of course, we'll send the email out near the time to let you know what the exact arrangements for that will be. Okay, so any notices now from anyone else from the floor?
Yeah, I've got a proposal for everybody. Do you remember we took a trip to Didcot Power Station? Sorry, on my daughter and them running okay. I organised a trip to Didcot Power Station about 4 years ago. You know, we had a talk from Ral Ionisond. The lady said, get in touch with Chilbolt and you can go visit there.
That's where her husband works, isn't it?
Something like that. I emailed in April, heard nothing. Yesterday I got an email from her saying, yes, we do visits. Can you give us an idea of numbers? It will be in a few months' time on a weekday during the day, and they keep a list of people who want to go, and then they get batches of people in. So what I wanted to do this evening, gentlemen, is show of hands how many people might be interested in a trip to Chilbolt. It's Science and Technology Facilities Council, a laboratory. It's hang on, I'll give you all the info as well. It's 4 miles south-east of Andover, where the A303 crosses the A34, roughly, near Stockbridge. It's not hard to get to. and they study they've got a 25-metre radio dish. They study the atmosphere, radio, astronomy, space, and technology. And they've got a satellite ground station and the LOFAR array, which is a radar, which is a radio telescope on the ground. So, how many people would be roughly? I better just count that. How many's that roughly?
Why don't you tell who doesn't want to go?
About 20?
It's the room, yeah. There's a list,
20?
hopefully, that can, of the attendance list. It's probably pretty much the attendance list, I would say.
So that's about 20 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll tell them. And if it's a goer, I'll send an email out and you can send me your names and I'll keep in touch with you from there.
Okay, yeah, thank you for arranging that. Sounds good. Okay, right, well, as I say, we haven't got, they've got loads of things to talk about and look at. So, oh, sorry, and any more notices?
Yeah,
Anyone else?
Andy, M5LD. Firstly, my apologies for not coming on a regular basis. I've been too busy. Michael rally on Sunday. I'm part of the committee. Just to remind you all that it is the rally, and if you are going to go and be helpful to know what times you're going to arrive, and if you like a pass to get in through the gate and not be challenged when you get there, come and see me sometimes during the night. We've got
Good. Thank you.
Also, you've probably seen on the email group that the Thames Valley Repeater Group have got some nice Yaesu bits and bobs.
I'm going to talk about.
Which, Ian, would you like to say it now?
Yeah, well, I don't need that thing.
Okay, good.
He needs an attenuator.
Yeah, so, Thames Valley Repeater Group come across a whole bunch of radios, and I must admit, Chris and Steve have done some good work. All the radios that we have are programmed up, working and tested. They're both on a VHF. Here's a sample of the handheld. It's a Yaesu VX10, and the mobiles that we have are Yaesu VX2000s. They're going for silly money, bearing in mind that on the website, our website, you've got the manuals, the software for talking to them. The only thing you have to buy is a lead from the internet to connect up. So for 10 quid, you get a radio. This is, we're talking about Chinese chips at the sort of technology here. For 10 quid, one radio, 2 batteries, 1 charger. And the mobiles come out a bit more, about 30 quid or 40 quid, depending on whether they're new or used. All the details are on the Thames Valley Repeater Group website now, and they'll be all for sale at McMichael. Do come and see our table, which is opposite end of the room from the bar. Thank you very much.
Okay, right. Yeah, I know. Also, I was talking to Vin about it, and he's been testing one of them, and it's very good actually. So he's very impressed with it. So I hope you've got lots of them because I think they're going to go very quickly. Okay, so I'll hand anyway over to John, unless there's anyone else who wants any more notices. Vin?
Yes, please. As you know, we have. Have you something, Andy?
I've done it, mate.
You've done it. All right. Lovely. For anybody we have a radio that's been provided by ICOM via Martin Lynch, so bring some money with you on Sunday. You could end up with a dual band analog and digital handy. So we'll see you Sunday. Have you asked for any more volunteers?
I've asked.
Oh, all right then. Lucky gator.
If they want a pass to get in through the gate, they can come see me.
Thank you. We'll see you Sunday. Or Saturday even. Yeah, Saturday. That's my project.
Okay, right. Thank you. I'll hand over to John, who's itching to get going there. So, John.
Yeah, okay. Well, I knew that you guys were all working on good stuff, but I had no clue what it was, so I figured there was probably a meeting again to find out. So, yeah. So, yeah, you've kindly brought along many items tonight to show us, and the idea is you talk for a maximum a short period of time, which will say is roughly 4 minutes. If it's going on too long, you shall hear the sound. That is the end of your meeting. You should just keep things moving along. The intent is it's a taster evening, And it's just a chance for everybody to see what everybody else has been up to and exchange a few ideas. So the intent is to try and get through stuff by approximately 9 o'clock, and then eat around, have a cup of tea, and look at the exhibit. So, any questions from exhibitors? Anybody happy with that? This is, I have no idea how this format's going to work, so it's all experimental. So I'll be looking for feedback at the end about things, ways to do it better, or whatever, or ideas for improvement. But without further ado, I'll hand it over to Loz on his exhibit.
So I'm going first. I've only got 4 minutes. So I've got a TS2000, which I've had a few years ago. It's got a 23 sems unit in it, and I've got some antennas in the garage. I thought it'd be a good idea to get going on 23 sems, but to learn something about it first of all. I was at Pete's selling key sale, and I picked up this little board that had 23 sems converter on it, and it also had the date of 1982 on it. So I guess this is one of the things that Pete picked up from one of the rallies he went to. He was good at finding this stuff, but never got around to building it. I thought, well, I'm going to try and build something around this. And then now Aidan Skelton's stuff appeared in Radcom. I don't know if you've seen it, but he does some great articles in Radcom. It's all built ugly construction. Now, I'd never tried this before, so I decided to have a go at it from what I've got in the junk box, including the crystals. And it's quite easy to do. You can knock these together in an evening, and you can get something that's pretty stable. I have to say, getting something stable on 23 cents is a nightmare, okay, as I've discovered. So that's it. So I've built the oscillator chains up from a 16 meg crystal, as that tripling to 48, tripling again to 2 meters, 144. And then you go from 144 up to 576. 576 megahertz, you can double that. You get something you can mix with a 1296 meg signal to get you an IF on 2 meters. Okay, so that's the way you do it. 16 meg crystals. So here's my ask. If anyone's got a 36 meg, third over the same crystal, I'm doing a couple of them. Tried looking, can't find it. So that's it for me. Just come and have a look. I've also built an oscillator which it puts out a nice signal on 1296, but you have to follow it up and down the band. So that's it. Taming oscillators for those frequencies is a skill. That's what I've learned. Finally, I have this book. It's a spare of mine. It's Aidan Skelton's Homebrew Cookbook. It's a brilliant book. What I would like to do is donate this to a young person within the club who you think is going to make use of it. The caveat is they have to build something out of this book and present it at the next construction meeting. So if you can think of anyone who's deserving, let me know. Thank you.
60 seconds.
Repetition or...
Cool. That was good. Question?
So Pete's kit came with all the components, all the 1982 style components. But one component that was in there was great. It was a 96 meg crystal, probably a third or a fifth overtone. But I'm hoping to make use of that as well. My goal is to build that and to bring it along at some point.
Any more questions? No? Brilliant, boss. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Wally? Yeah, let's go for Wally.
No, wander with it. Wander away. Wrong way around. It's too long path. I'm here to a
What I
third
had was a need to now that style of aerial. Oh, it's I'll come forward.
That any good?
Good. What I had, I'll be getting that. I can't be doing with it. What I had was this style of antenna, which would normally go on top of your car on a mag base or similar on your car, yeah? But I wanted to use this on a mast. So, die-cast box, socket at the top for the antenna, one for the feeder at the bottom. It's linked with a piece of screen cable inside coax. And these are the piece to resistors. These are old radials with 2BA studs. They're perfect. So what you get is a metric nut and bolt, drill a hole in it and tap it. and then in he goes. And this does fit the top of my breaker 8-metre mast. It sits in the hole in the top, obviously with complete antenna, and up she goes. Simple. And I've got two sets of radials, because this is dual band, obviously, 2 metres or 77s. So I've got a set of 77s elements when I want to use a UHF.
Does it not load UHF anyway?
More or less.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you really want to be fussy about it, the only thing I find is awkward is trying to get that on there. But apart from that, it goes up a mast and works extremely well, using on lots of rain activities where we want an aerial up top.
What's in the box, Ron? What's actually in the box?
In the box is literally a piece of coax linking the two sockets.
Okay.
That's all that's in there, a bit of RG58. It's all screened anyway, but at least it's not nice to keep it somewhere near 50 ohms.
Brilliant. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Tony. T2D.
You are.
It's T2.
Even Tony. Nice to see you.
Well, I'm sorry I'm late. Anyway, I've got just the thing for you.
Have you?
We need to talk about this afterwards. This is what I built. Sorry about the yellow paper, but I've run out of the lovely stuff. I just laid my daughter's bedroom together. It's a GPS controlled frequency standard. 10 megs reference output. Why did I build it? Who does PSK? Hands up, you do PSK? Who says you're off frequency? Who says? Everybody says you're off frequency. No, they don't. It's always their receiver, of course, isn't it? So that's why I built it. It was quite an interesting topic. But I got fed up with it. Anyway, it's a GPS receiver you can buy on eBay for about 40 quid. 40 quid. If you're going to do it, make sure you get one that's got a 10 kilohertz output, not a 1 hertz only output. Okay. There's a crystal on board that, which is already roughly stabilised, which might have been 2 or 3 years ago. By the way, these come from old mobile phone stations, so you can get them quite easily, cheaply. So there's a little crystal in there. It doesn't cost very much, but it's set to the last time the GPS was turned on and locked on. So it's got a lookup table inside it, and it measures the voltage, and it remembers that voltage. Of course, that was 2 years ago. Things have drifted, so it's gone off tune anyway. But it doesn't really matter. As soon as it gets locked, it'll come back on tune. But it's not very stable. It's only designed for mobile phone use. Okay. So, the 10 kilo, I don't know if you can see this, it's not very big print, but the 10 kilohertz comes out there, it goes into this little GPS interface in a closed lock loop, which has got a very long time constant. And you get an error voltage coming out here, because the 10 megs from the crystal oscillator feeds through there and compares it. So you get an error voltage come back to force this low noise TCXO onto frequency. So you adjust the scale of the DC bias going to the control voltage to normalise the ideal voltage for the VCXO. And then you get 10 megs coming out of it, and the accuracy in lock after 10 seconds is 0.0001 hertz. If you leave it on for about 10 minutes, you're looking at 1 in 10 to the minus 13. That's a lot of noughts. So use that, you won't be off tune, ever. It's always the other guy's fault. Okay, you can talk to this GPS board via a 232 link, so it connects up your COM terminal. I've brought a power supply along to plug in, we'll do that later. There's 2 lights on here, this is vital. The 2 lights, one is just 12 volts available, and the other one, it sort of drifts in and out. So that man's nodding, he's done one before, haven't you? Okay, this sort of drifts in and out.
That's the long light.
That drifting of the brightness is the error when it's out of lock between the internal crystal on there and the internal crystal from the TCXO. So the frequencies sort of drift in and out of phase, and it's an averaged voltage on there, or should I say intensity on there. And you find this light going up and down in terms of intensity. The intensity or the frequency of that might be 2 or 3 hertz or 5 hertz or 1 hertz, and that's the error momentarily. As soon as the light stays solid, you're on lock.
Right.
Brilliant. Well, there are kits available, but I didn't.
Can I ask a question on that, please? Yes. Where do you put the aerial? That's what I was wondering about these
Ah,
projects.
it's a active aerial, so it's got 5 volts going up the coax, and it's laying on the shaft roof. Tiny little thing like so big. Go on eBay, they'll take the kits.
Sure. Right, Mike, do you want to say? Okay. Well, what Mike's got here is it Milton Keynes?
It's the Hunter,
Hunter SDR.
which a lot of members of the club have helped because I should have reported it.
What the box is, it sits between the rig and your antenna, and there's a little SDR receiver in it, and that's switched in when you're on receive, so it switches over to transmit automatically. So there's a bunch of filtering, and then you've got little FET preamp, followed by a classic Talo SDR detector. So it's a very, very simple circuit, but it's remarkably effective. And you get the IHU data out of the little box as audio, as left and right channels, and you feed it into the PC. Very, very simple circuit, but very effective. Quite elegant.
What does it do?
It's a pan adapter, effectively, or it's a little SDR receiver.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah.
And a Panda.
Yeah, totally. So if you haven't played with it, it's a nice way to double with SDR. And it's surface mount, but it's not too stressful. There's a whoever built it, I'm not sure whether it was
So it wasn't me.
yeah, they made a pretty good job of it. The only problem I had with it it was a blown FET, which was probably static damage.
And Jim wound the coils.
Okay. Yeah. Jim, Jim, do you know what anything?
Yeah, I enjoyed doing it and helping out. It looked a lovely kit, actually.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Anyway, might get it going later.
Yeah, we're currently battling Windows 10. So hopefully we can play with it. That's
It'll never work.
Probably it looks like it's battery now.
It is totally no tech.
Blue screen altogether.
Probably all seen it. Got the front camera's had a problem 2 months ago. I suddenly thought, well, I'll go building that. And very simple. It actually worked. All it is, 2-metre aerial, bit of coax, plastic pipe from Screwfix, copper pipe from Screwfix. Took me about 30 minutes. Well, a bit longer than that.
Really depends then, I assume.
That's very, very difficult. But when you buy it from Screwfix, it comes wound up like that. The hardest thing was actually trying to measure it to the right length when it's in a bend.
Yes.
Trying to get a tape measure to go round, and I had to go and get one of my wife's sewing ones because I could run it round. You try to do the metal, and you just can't do it. So it's exactly as it says in the book. Very easy to make, and it works. And you can try it later. I've got an adapter, little handle builder's got a better radio. I tried it. Horizontal, vertical. I don't know how it works. Don't understand that.
I
No,
it's a
it's
bit
nice.
like pond of dipole.
Yeah.
I suppose it must be.
He was young then.
But nice little project. I enjoy building it. If anyone wants to build one, I've got a small copper pipe and some bits of plastic tube. It's a fun little project. Pretty simple. You just need one drill for drilling holes, and I used a normal pipe bender.
Is it very
a pipe
direct?
cutter? Just spun it round, and then it screws up. Cuts
Sorry,
it.
question.
Is it very directional?
Directionally horizontal and vertical, but not particularly. I think there's a little bit of a deaf spot, but not really.
Just what have you been using for 2 minutes DF?
I don't know. You're welcome to try it.
That's a new battery.
Yeah.
If I may ask, where did you get the copper for the gammon match?
That bit.
Yeah.
It's that. Thumped it with a hammer. Actually, I'll just put it in the voice and tighten the voice up. Yeah. It's so simple. And they in the article they tell you how to build them, or give you the dimensions, and scale it up from 4 metres, 6 metres, and things like that. I think 4 metre might be, or 6 metre might be a bit too big, but you could make one.
Do you know if it's precious about the gap between the end of the loop?
That bit.
Yeah.
I think you just tweak. I think when I put it on the analyzer, I think I did tweak, just push it with it a little bit. But all of this, I haven't changed anything.
It looks to be a magnet.
But it's too big to be able to work for 2 metres.
How to drew? 2 meters, yeah. Of course, yeah.
On the analyzer, it's
You get away with a third of the way around.
How long is that? Is that about a metre?
Right, thank you. Okay.
Right. Evening all. Sorry, Graham, standing in the way. There's the FIF for anyone who doesn't know them. I've brought a selection of boards that I get to play with professionally and personally. It's a bit weird when your hobbies are also the same as your profession. Professionally, I'm a marketing manager for software and a chip supplier. So I get all kinds of little boards and goodies to play with. So I've got a selection of stuff you probably wouldn't see normally. Raspberry Pis people have seen. We get all kinds of boards from simple microcontroller boards with the very popular Arduino connectors on. So you can then just stack things together. So you get a microcontroller and it's got an Ethernet port you can stack on and a display. So at the other extremes you've got these. This little board. You've got on there one chip that's got 2 ARM processors that are running at a gigahertz. It'll run Linux. It's got FPGA on it, so it's got programmable logic, more logic than you need. Build your own SDR. And I get to get sent these in the post, which is great fun. And then you plug them on boards, you boot Linux on it, you do all kinds of fun games with it. So I've got a selection there. I'm actually just back from Germany where they were telling us all about this one where you just got masses of software that go with it. I could fire it up. I think this one's got a demo programmed into it already. If the thing would work. Yes, it does. So you get demos that are designed to run weather stations and all kinds of stuff when the thing gets up and running. There's a little weather station on there.
What did you say?
This one is just a little regular LCD. This one I brought along. This is from another manufacturer, and I brought it along actually for Jim, because Jim thinks the only thing I know how to build is clocks. I play snooker every week, well, when I'm in the country, with a couple of friends. We play at Twyford Snooker Club, and they haven't got a scoreboard
touch screen, absolutely everything, keeps track, and it also keeps track of the game. So you just type in what score you got, so 8 points, and it can tell you how many reds are left. It can tell you what's available on the scoreboard. It can tell you who can win, who can't win, that sort of thing. The more interesting thing is that more than half the memory that's taken up, the code space that's taken up, is the table, the lookup table that can work out what the eventualities are based on every score. That took me about 3 months of working out. If you score 8 points, you've got this. If you score 16 points, you get this. So it can actually keep track of the entire game all the way to the end. It can tell you who won. So that's for you, Jim, to prove I can produce something other than that. But yeah, just a selection of boards.
So do you know how long you were playing?
Well, no, I didn't bother putting a clock on deliberately. But yeah, anything as well down to GSM modules. So we're a distributor for Huawei, a Chinese company. So I end up playing with mobile phone things as well, or microcontrollers. So there's just a selection of boards, not all powered up, but come and play and have a look. Anything from a microcontroller up to Linux. So that's what I do for a living. I play.
Any more questions? Just short about 20 seconds.
Do they pay you for this?
Sorry?
Do they pay you for this?
They do. And they fly me around Europe to do it as well. It's great.
Sorry, we've got any spare boards?
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Next is Rail.
Hi everyone, I'm Rail Pastor, M0RTP. So what you see over here is a loop controller and some other bits and pieces that I've been working on. Many of you know I'm a bit of a loop addict. I've built countless loops going from, that's one of the smaller loops, to multi-turn 80-foot loops covering up to 160 meters. This particular loop is 10 foot circumference. It will tune 10 through 60 meters. I built a loop controller. As many of you, how many of you built a loop? Okay. So you'll know how fiddly a loop can be by hand tuning it. So having a stepper motor that has literally 32,000 steps between end stops, I can get absolute precision for storing a frequency in a tuning solution by 202 picofarads. I can get 202 picofarads. So every single time I go up and down the bands. So if I switch the radio on, it's tracking, it's got an Arduino processor in there. Anyway, we're going to play radio a bit later, but I'm going to go up to a 10 meter band. Oh, let's hope I switch the loop controller on. Demo effect. So, because I'm taking radio data out, the capped data out to the controller, I can then have maybe I shouldn't have switched it off. There we go. So I'll go up and down the bands. You'll notice the stepper is stepping as I go up and down the bands. I'm going to go back down to 40 meters. And it stores as tuning solutions. Takes cap data. I can then press a SWR. I can tune by SWR as well. So because of temperature changes, the capacitance required will change. So I can get it to lock onto a new tuning solution to reset and recalibrate. Has a built-in power meter as well.
Fine, you're cool.
Okay, great. And so if you're running with a QRP rig and you have a linear amplifier, you don't want to be tuning bad SWR through your linear. So I have relay controls. So you'll notice some cables coming out the back. So I can do a SAN key or PTT inhibit, so that the linear doesn't enable band data. So if I want to switch different antennas, I've got relays, a little board. I can control outputs. I'm happy to share this. I've been working with a guy called Lofty Jonathan. I built my own version. Then about 8 months ago, we started integrating them with features. It supports Elecraft, ICOM, Yaesu, Kenwood. If you don't have any CAT data out. There's also a virtual VFO. Many of you know I like the old FT100, 101s, etc. So I've got this integrated with my fudge anchors. And I also use an external DDS so that I'm constantly on frequency. Happy to share everything with you. Frequency, capacitance-wise, many of you will be familiar with variable capacitors. The Russians know how to build capacitors. That's 25 kV nominal, 15 kV American version nominal. And because if you're putting 100 watts in, you can develop 5,000 volts quite easily. If you're running QRO on my bigger loops, when I'm putting 400 watts in, I can be circulating up to 10,000, 12,000 watts. You do notice the birds changing. Other than that, why would you want to go for a loop very, very quickly? If you live in a housing development, estates, I think we call them here, you've got next door neighbours, you've got their plasmas, power lines, all that kind of shit, and you can't have a 60-foot mast. So having a loop, I'm getting 20/9 into Germany, into Sweden, with anything from 10 to 50 watts, depends. Grey line is a favourite time. Moscow, 400 watts, you're lighting up Moscow. So there you go. Happy to demonstrate the little pieces.
Questions?
So where do you source your vacuum variables from? Because they're A, they're rare, and B, they're really expensive.
So I get these from Fleabay.
You do?
Yeah, Fleabay is the best place. In fact, I've been building these for a number of people, so
what would you pay for that one?
This particular one is $86. That is $2,000 worth of capacity.
Yeah.
That was $86 on Fleabay, but it's $50 for shipping. So I don't want to be funny. Building a loop, it's a lot of pleasure, but it's not cheap. It's easy to string up a piece of wire. But stringing up a piece of wire at height and not upsetting the missus, I have a bit of an antenna farm at home. So anyway.
Ain't it green so that it looks like it's vegetation?
Well, so my biggest loop is actually, so my capacitors are mounted, they've been camoed, they're Krylon paint, I can recommend.
Can I just say, if that's copper, that'll go green after a while.
Yeah. So one thing I would recommend is not to do what I've done here for temporary. You should always have soldered, braced connections wherever you go. Resistance isn't futile, it's a killer.
Thank you.
He's got so much copper tube up in his garden, he's actually doing better than solar panel.
No, we have no slugs and snails in our garden.
Pride.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rob. Next. What's the next item on the table?
I guess that's me. Right, this is an intellectual break. Switch your brains off. Okay, this is going to be dead simple. It's people like me that put the amateur into amateur radio. Okay, I work WAB, which, put simply, involves working on 160 metres and talking to a net once in a while. It used to, somebody's killed the sun's actually, there's no spots anymore, nothing happens, but I used to walk up to trig points and operate with a backpack, and you're always thinking of things you can do other than walk up there, tie the aerial to the trig point, work on the net for 3 minutes, contacting everybody that's there, and then thinking, I just got to take it all to pieces and walk down the hill now. There must be more to life than this. Right? But along the way, produce things like this, which is a voltage stabilizer, 8 to 30 volts in, steady 13.8 out, so that the 817 continues to produce its full 5 watts, regardless of how the battery's failing. I thought I'd try 2 metres. This is a prototype 2 metre halo, a bit rough at the moment, but it can be tidied up. So I can sling that halfway up the 20-foot fiberglass pole and try a bit 2 metres from the top. There are people that try and destroy your enjoyment of the whole thing. So it's a very lightweight DF loop for 7 megs, tuned DF loop, so I can find out where they are. Progress is not going to be mentioned. So, but then I thought I might have a go at QRP. And I spotted on eBay the fact that you can buy a Pixie 3 board, which is a complete QRP transceiver, for £2.30 post-paid from China. So I ordered 2 of them and built them into a box, and that is a QRP transceiver This one is actually dedicated to Pete, FRC, because it's his Morse key on the top there. Okay? And when you've built one, you stick a paper clip and build another one. So I bought another one using an old Morse key I had, and you can see the insides. Dead simple. Dead simple. Time to build, 2 or 3 hours altogether. It doesn't include waiting for the paint and varnish to dry. Okay? They weigh next to nothing. 78 grams for the high power battery to go in it, lithium polymer, 11.7 volts, 2.3 ampere hour. So you can stay up there for a long time and get cold while you're waiting to try and work somebody. And the rig itself weighs 13 ounces with the internal PP3 battery. So it's not going to add a lot to the weight of the backpack hiking up to the trig points. And that's it. Simple stuff, but great enjoyment building it, and it doesn't cost a lot. In fact, the die-cast boxes cost twice as much as the Pixie boards themselves. So that's the way it goes.
Have you got any questions?
What power is the QRP?
It's if I put the external power supply on, it's just under a watt, and with the internal PP3, it's about 0.5, 0.55. So it's a direct conversion receiver, so it's full QSK, full break-in, and the sensitivity depends on the sensitivity of the headphones, of course, because it's just a direct conversion and an audio amplifier. So you've got a pair of high impedance headphones, it's much better than low impedance.
What's the farthest you reach?
Sorry?
What's the farthest you reach?
What's the?
Yeah. What's how far?
What do you mean? Sorry?
What's your best GX?
Across the bench so far, because it's on foot. It's only using paper clips as aerials though, and because the 40 metres has just died in the last few months, and as I say, somebody smeared some Clearasil on the sun's surface, and all the spots have gone, and nothing's happening up there. But I'm ready for when it happens again. You know.
Next week.
Next week, is it? Thank you.
Next. Well, Dick.
That's you, Dick. Right, I'm Dick. Welcome to the show and tell. There are actually 54 sunspots at the moment. This started off as a software-defined radio. The plan was to use a funky dongle for the radio and a microprocessor for the software-defined. I found some code on the scrap that was for a pan adapter using an Arduino Duo. And I thought, well, that's okay. All I'm going to do is connect the funky dongle in and I'm away. How hard could that be? Well, the answer is bloody hard. I don't know if anyone's ever tried programming a USB host without a driver, but it's very difficult, and the documentation of the funky dongle is sparse. So after about 3 months, I gave up on that and decided to build a clock. Having seen Desi's clock. So, also about this time, I discovered the ESP8266, which is a little microprocessor with Wi-Fi capability. So I started off connecting to an ATP server to set the real-time clock correctly. Then I had a nice clock. The real-time clock also gave temperature, so I put the inside temperature on there. And then I decided it would be nice to have some weather information. So I looked around for a server that sent weather information in machine readable. So I thought, BBC. Yes, they do send weather information on XML. I spent the whole morning trying to get this to work, and in the end I got fed up and looked for another site, which I found. Then found out later BBC had been subject to a denial of service attack, which was why I couldn't connect. So then I had the weather information on there, but it only updates, well, sometimes only an hour and a half at a time. The temperature readings looked a bit peculiar because they went up in steps of 5 degrees as it warmed up in the morning. So I thought, well, I'll build my own temperature sensor. So I used another ESP8266 connected into the same Wi-Fi hub, had a temperature sensor, and I stuck that in the garage, well, on the back wall of the garage, power inside. And so then we had decent temperature readings. I think the next thing I did was all this space over here. So I thought nice graphs would be good, because I wanted something that sort of looked good and moved around. It was fairly interesting. So I started producing graphs, and then I used an EEPROM to save the load. Over here, still a space here, I thought amateur radio information would be interesting, so I put it in construction content later in the year. I found a nice site called hamqsl.com that shows all this information and also pushes it out as XML as well. So we have that over here. And I thought, everything that's missing here is rain, the rain data. So I made a rain sensor using one of these sort of, if you saw the raining weather for 100 years, you saw this big weather sensor and a thing tips. The rain runs in, fills something up, tips over, and then it fills the other side up, tips over again. So I made one of those out of PCB soldered together, and the Hall effect switch I made it count, and then I had the rain on that. And I thought, what else does a clock need? Well, a clock really needs a strike, doesn't it? So I had spare Arduino Uno, which is over there, made it on board, which plays MP3 files off an SD card. Started off with a recording kit there, which perhaps a little pretentious. I've got it on cooking clock at the moment. It will also do tribute bells and bullshit things. That's the nice one. Obviously, it isn't quite finished. It's going in case, which is I'm trying to put off as long as possible by thinking more interesting.
Wind speed.
Sorry, wind speed.
Wind speed.
Wind speed is good.
Oh, sorry, not wind speed.
Wind speed and direction.
Cool. Any questions? Rolling forecast. There's a website I can give you the details of.
Sorry?
Rolling weather forecast. Current and then the next 3 days.
Is it free?
It's free.
I'm using, I can't remember the name of the site I'm using, but data rolling, I think it was paid for that.
Anybody's
Questions?
got data.
Sorry?
Everybody's got data charges for it. You usually get something free. The moment they see you're taking your sample now, you get locked out.
Yes, people that provide weather information here will only allow you to access it 600 times in an hour. So I access it every 2 minutes and I'm fairly low. I suppose they're trying to avoid people writing apps and distributing them around the world, taking their free information.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
It's me. Yeah, it's on. Good. I'm going to talk about two things. One is 23 SEMS low noise preamp I made. This is based on the G4DDK low noise amplifier module. It comes as a kit, and I'll remove the lid from all this, but you may be able to see that it's all surface mount, and it comes as each individual component, so you have to put everything down yourself on that. And the front end is actually hung in mid-air, because if it were on the fiberglass board it would have too much loss. It's claimed to be about 0.3 dB's noise figure, though I've tried measuring it, I've got a noise.
But the trouble is, the rim round here we want it to be solid, because you have to fix the mirrors on, and I can stop it later, and you can see that normally you have a screw in. The original Baird one had a screw that went into the edge of the thing, and each side would hold the mirrors on. But when I came to drill a hole there was nothing there. So I then had to make up 30 bits of studding to go right through and put a nut on each side, which made it a right so-and-so to set up. The other thing is, because he decided he could do it quickly, he got some plastic mirrors cut, but they're not accurate enough. It's amazing. You can put, I've had sunlight shining on it, and there's a photo here which shows two adjacent spots, and they should both be dots, but one is distorted just by a few thousandths of an inch. So the thing is now is we're going to, hopefully this summer, he's going to print another drum off with a better density to get this to work. But as I say, there is a picture there that you can see. It's not a very good picture, but I'll have it working later on. You can come round and have a look at it. The other thing is you have to have a spot of light which converges onto here, and the specification that Baird said, the image on the mirrors here should cover two mirrors. So you need the spot to be converging from here to give you two mirrors diameter, and then reflected off to a spot on there that is only going to be about 2 millimeters in diameter. And trying to get the optics for that, surprising how difficult it is. You find if you're not careful, you get the image of the photodiode on there. So it's made up of 4 bits like that. That's what you've got instead of a spot. Anyway, it's the first prototype, and as I say, for a first one off, I think it works quite well. But as I say, here's a photograph, an original Baird mirror drum, which was made by the Bush Company in 1935. And there you've got the drum, and then you've got the hood there to screen the light, because the other thing is you get extraneous light on there and you don't get a good black level. Anyway, that's probably enough waffling on that anyway, so you can come up and see it, in detail.
Any questions very briefly?
Is that the HDR model?
Yes, yeah, that's right, yes. Hasn't got interlacing on it though.
I'm going to progress to 405.
Yes, I set it up properly, because the thing is, on the Baird system, you only had line sync pulses. You had 30 lines, and you didn't actually have sync pulses. You just had a black level at the back. There's no frame sync, so on all Baird pictures, when they came up, the picture could be displayed sideways, so you had to slip lines, which is what this freak button does. It means I can slip lines so that the picture is framed up properly. In fact, another thing the project I set my grandson was to design a Raspberry Pi WAV file player that would repeat without a break in pulses. And it's quite amazing actually. What I had to do was to cut the WAV file to an exact length, so that when it went from the beginning, there was no loss of sync or anything. And when you looked on the scope, I cut through the sync pulses or the gaps. You couldn't see the join. I was quite impressed with the way it looped round. But that's now working down at Amberley Museum, because I've restored a Baird televisor for them down there. And earlier in the year I went down with this Raspberry Pi player, and it's been down there working for a month now, so we're keeping our fingers crossed that any glitches on the mains down there isn't going to cause it any problems. Anyway, I've probably had more than my 5 minutes, so I'll...
Thank you.